Greetings everyone, Reed here with another crazy solar project. You wondering what I'm doing? Well, I'm rearranging my solar system. And I thought, since I'm doing that, I'll take you along for the ride and explain the whole thing. Of course, filming this and explaining all that usually makes the project go like twice as long, but at least it lets me get two things done. So I guess, it's actually the same amount of time because it's two things twice as long. All right, you can ignore my dry, horrible humor. Anyways, so I had another inverter system, and it is a 48 volt system. It's a Magnum power sign, 4,400 watt PAE inverter made for stacking, all that, go up to 16,000 watts total continuous power. And I was like, yes, great. When I first started all this stuff and put that together, I had the battery bank and set up, and I know exactly how to get this going. Ran into a problem with the darn thing, okay? It has some very interesting stacking requirements that are difficult to deal with, especially when you're trying to mount this in an odd set of places and your space is constrained and all that. To lay it out and stuff like that, it literally has to have all the inverters right next to each other. The negative bus or the negative line on the whole thing can't be further than 18 inches away where they're from all of them. They all can't have their negative lines more than 18 inches away from the others. That is a seriously small area to work in. You also have to have them all tied together in this other way and stuff like that. I mean, you couldn't even split battery banks if you wanted to. I don't understand why not. I don't understand why you can't do that, but it's a severe problem on the Magnum sine wave for what I was trying to do. So I have this thing, Magnum sine power, 4,000 watt, by itself that will never get stacked with anything else. And I'm just gonna use it for another project later on to electrify something else off grid and doesn't need a bunch of other things. So we'll just have this one thing by itself. Oh well. This is what I did have. I had one of these, which is a Schneider Electric Contact SW 4024 inverter. Can do 3,400 watts continuous, 4,000 watts for 30 minutes, and then 7,000 watts for like 30 seconds. And it can stack with another one. It can pair up with just one. So you can only do two. You can only put two together. So you get, 6,800 watts continuous, 8,000 for 30 minutes, and then 14,000 for like 30 seconds or so. And it'll actually run most of everything I need, right? Especially when you plan stuff like that. And we'll go over how you do planning and budgeting out your solar system and everything else. But I'll need to get something much bigger. This is also 24 volts, so I had to split the battery bank and do that. But what's cool about these guys is they don't have those weird requirements. In fact, they can even go on a separate battery banks. If you had to have different battery banks, they can do that. They don't recommend it because, if one shuts down, the other one's shutting down. They don't just drop off gracefully. They both shut down together. But that's okay. Now, the other thing that's real interesting about these, really neat, is they can operate in a mode called AC coupling. Now, what that means is this can be the seed of a microgrid. And you can pair it up with grid interactive inverters. So like you can make your own little microgrid. And these guys will be the controller that makes the frequency and all that other stuff that a solar array that uses, PV, grid tie inverters, those will sync up to this and they'll power stuff together. Kind of interesting, right? And these guys, what happens is excess energy they'll put into their batteries from those grid interactive inverters. So it puts it in the batteries. And when the batteries charge, they have a method of telling the grid tie inverters, hey, my batteries are full, cut back your power output. Because you can't store energy in the grid. They drop it down. It's pretty neat. And I'll cover all that stuff in great detail. Now later, we're going to get another set of inverters and move on to what I really want, which is a Morningstar. They've just been waiting their sweet time on getting the darn thing out. And I'm like, I want you. Give me your inverter. Like, what's the old phrase? Shut up and take my money. Like, I want to get it, but it's not out yet. So that's all right. But these guys are nice, reliable little guys. They have a couple limitations and stuff. Like they start to derate when you get over 80 degrees, so they do need active cooling and so on and so forth. And so there's some limitations there. But I can manage it and deal with it right now, and it's fine. Now to rearrange the way I want, I'm roughing it in. Basically, I grabbed some wood from the boneyard I have, and everyone should have a boneyard and stuff. I know some of my neighbors probably hate me for it, but that's okay. I'm working on cleaning up things and getting it better organized, but I'm always in progress on that. And roughing it in, And I'm going to take you guys along for the ride as getting set up, and you can go, oh boy, Reed, what the heck are you doing? It's usual. Lee loves to say I over-engineer things. It's true. I like to over-engineer things. I like my conductors cool, like cucumbers. If you haven't heard that before, you can check out the video where I said it. Anyways, let's get on with roughing this in and lining up cables and everything else. And I'll explain the whole mess. All right, I wanted to show you this. So, see, put all these holes in here. And for these guys, these are cord grips. They're gonna hold the electrical wire as it comes out of the box. And then here's part of the conduit coming in. Now these boxes don't have any holes. And I thought I'd show people how you put holes in these things. So I drill a hole, and I get a really big drill bit and drill this 2-inch one, right? No, we use something called a, punch out kit or knockout kit, either which way. And I use the old manual ones, so it has to use some gun power. And start here is you drill a hole big enough this goes in, and for some reason this one's tight. Oh, one other thing, really important. The threads on these things have to be very clean. So brush them off, clean them out when you get there. And then I put mineral oil on them to help with this, because they're putting a lot of pressure on the metal to cut this out, okay? So what I'm gonna do here, the first thing we start with is the 1/2 inch. We're gonna cut a 1/2 inch hole here. And we'll go from there, and I'll show you how this works. So we get that screwed in, and inside, I don't know if you can see that, hopefully you can, the other piece is in there, tightened up against the metal. Get this on here, and we just go, whoops, grab it. Now I do recommend getting a good long wrench, give you some leverage. Now, the 1/2 inch one is pretty easy, all right. Pull this off, and I'll show you the slug we got in here. Okay, there's the metal slug. It just does that, leaves a real clean hole. We got to go up to 2 inches. Now I just don't jump up to 2 inches on this one, because I need this 2 inches to line up with that other electrical panel very carefully. So I'm going to put a new 1-inch hole in there, give me enough room to maneuver it to line it up, and then I'll put the 2 inches in there. Because I was a little loose with the drill bit when I was just putting the initial hole in, so. Thread this up on this side. Now I need a little more leverage of an angle to work on this one. So, just twist this in. Oops. There we go. I got a 1-inch conduit hole. Now these are actually far bigger than, the 1 inch. Like 1 inch conduit holes are, I don't know, 1 5/8 or something. Pretty good size. 2 inches is pretty darn good size. See? Here's like the 2-incher. I got one up to 3 for this kit and stuff. So I'll put this here, and I have all these marks on here so I can line these up the way I want, because I know just how to get this right where I want it. That comes from getting it wrong too many times. But at least experience teaches you, if you listen to it. Go get that snugged up. So this is exactly where I want it, and it looks good. And we'll use leverage again. I do it the old manual way. That way I don't have to worry about over tightening, twisting a thread, messing everything up. Just be it simple and calm. And just do this and she'll be done. Now, lots of electricians, they've moved to these big hydraulic systems. They can punch these massive big holes, do it fast, do it quick. And a lot of them have gotten rid of these manual systems. So if you want one, it's pretty easy to find on eBay. And a bunch of them are actually rated to cut stainless steel. So you can put holes in for like where you need to put, faucets and stuff like that. Drain holes and all sorts of stuff. Pretty neat. So check on eBay if you're curious. Look for like a green Lee knockout set. And here, you can see how off-center that was after I lined it up? Yep. But that's how it goes. Now I got everything where I want. I can get this hooked up. Show you how that looks in a minute. All right, I finally have this whole mess all roughed out and put together enough so I can explain this whole thing. And yes, guess what? I'm in a different shirt. I even shaved. It's actually been a little while since when I started the video and now when I'm finishing, because I was trying to do this late at night and stuff like that. Sometimes it was pitch black. I'm out here with a headlamp just getting it in. And it's really important to rough these things in. These things are really darn heavy. So roughing this in on a flat surface, not where I'm straining going, hold it, is far better. So now that I have the big, heavy components, the really big wire all roughed in, now I can finish cutting the board real quick, put the backing on, paint it, put all the 2x4s on the back and everything else, and get it ready for mounting in the house. Now let's explain this whole thing and sort of give you an idea of what the heck's going on. Now there's a couple deviations. Here we'll do a overview shot of this whole mess. Okay. I originally thought I was going to do one little box here on the bottom, but I actually didn't. I looked at my original drawing plans and I put two, but for some reason when I was out here tired, I'm like, oh, I don't need two boxes. I'll just use one and bend it. Okay. Wire this size, okay, this is 350 MCM, does not make a small 90-degree turn. You need a lot of radius for that. So what in the heck I was thinking of coming out of the side over here? I was loco. I should have stuck to my original plan. So I drew it out that way. I knew that. There was no way to get this breaker connected out of this box. That just wasn't happening. I don't know why on earth I didn't stick to my original plan, like I said. But sometimes you're tired and like, ooh, I can do it this a better way. Stick to your original plans. A lot of times you know what you're doing the first time around when you're outlining it. Don't try to get creative in the field. I know this. I really do. But still sometimes I find myself falling prey to the seductive nature of, hey, give this a try. No, don't do it. Anyways, okay, so let's explain this. So right here, these two wires right here coming in the center, all right, this is the positive line, and they go to these breakers here. Why are they coming in the center and the two positives here? Well, I got to get around this breaker section. And so I put a 45 here to get around here and bend these. Same with this here. Works fine. However, I'm not going to try to put two more 350 MCM wires through a 2-inch conduit hole. In fact, they say you can fit 3. 2 is as far as I will go. It's like whenever they say, oh yeah, this is the minimum you need, go up one conduit size. You will never get it through it otherwise. Just a lesson for anyone of you guys there. So these are the positives. They're coming in here, go to these breakers, and then here comes the outputs down here on this side. Now these two other big wires here on this far corner, okay, these are the negatives. So the positives and a negative come into this box, a positive and negative go into this box over here, and then they come around, go up, and they tie into the inverters. So we have connections that go into here and connections that go up to here on these inverters. Now I'm going to color code these ends so I know what's what. Okay, now if you're wondering, Reed, why do you have one inverter this way and the other one's that way? what in the heck are you doing? Well, I wanted the electrical in a center conduit area. Second, they're going to pull in air, cool air from the sides, and this will get hot. So we'd set up a little channel for the hot air to evacuate on, and then you don't have one inverter pushing hot air into the other inverter, which is not really what I want. I want them to both get about the same ambient temperature air to work with for cooling purposes. Now, the other interesting reason of why I set it up like this, okay, is so one set of wires up here, this is a positive and negative here that just split this way, and here's a positive and negative. These up here on the top are longer, okay? And based on the angles, these are, one set's longer than the other. I'm trying to get these wires to be about the same length overall so I can minimize voltage drop differences when the inverters are outputting their highest amount of power at once. You know, we're talking 210 amps. By keeping the wires about the same length, the inverters are going to see the battery voltage to be about the same. And that's important, because otherwise one's going to say, the battery's gotten too low, shut off. And the other one's like, it's not really that low. Of course, yes, we're talking big differences, pretty good lengths. But if you're dealing with about 1 foot to 2 feet at these kind of amperages at 24 volts, it can make a significant difference if you get down to the 25% capacity range. It's important. Now, you can see this piece is a little longer and all that. Just got to trim it with my super nifty trimmer. And trust me, these ratcheting cable cutters, they are a lifesaver when dealing with those big wires, especially 500 MCM. I've got another set that's a big old crimping jaw, it's like bolt cutters. To say it's hard as hell on 500 MCM wire is, put it mildly. This, no problem. Great investment to get one of these. Now, you're probably wondering, Reed, that's enormous wire. That doesn't seem very common for setting up solar stuff. Most of the stuff I see online is 4/0. What are you talking about? Cables bigger than that. Okay, this is important. I'm going a longer distance. A lot of those solar setups you see and everything else, they're talking batteries that are within like 1 foot or 2 of the inverters or the boxes and all that. Real short distances. Voltage drop is minimized. So like that. I am going a much further distance. I got around 20 feet to travel. Now, 20 feet, so like that, much bigger wire. In fact, this area right here, which is 350 MCM, ties into my original setup, okay? And these wires up here, I'm gonna splice into, they're gonna go up from 350, that goes into this panel because it was very workable at 350. Going to go up to 500 MCM all the way to the batteries. Yep, 500 MCM is a much bigger cable. A lot harder to work with than big conduit. I'll be putting 3-inch conduit in to hold the darn thing. But it's important that I keep the voltage drop to the absolute minimum. And you're wondering how low? Well, I've engineered this that the inverters to the batteries, I will only lose 2% of energy at maximum current of 210 amps. I consider that a win. I like being very efficient, especially when I'm dealing with my own energy. Really important on that. So the idea next is to get this set up, laid out for the painting. We're going to put the backer boards on it, the metal backer plate behind these because they want to be sitting on a non-flammable surface. So we'll just put some metal right behind them. I don't know why, but the manual says so. So there's something I don't know about. I'll follow the manual. Get some 2x4s behind it, get it real sturdy. Then it can go into the house and mount it on a wall. Now, you guys are probably thinking, hey Reed, you had a video a while back. In fact, I'll put a link up here about backout plans. You got your solar system torn apart here. If everything goes to crap right now, you got no power. What's your backout plan? And in fact, for the ends of these cables, I'm actually waiting on some ends I've ordered that have been back ordered for a month to fit on to here the inverters. Because see, here's the ends that I have, right? These guys. Well, when you try to mount these, I don't know, hopefully you can see it, this doesn't really fit on very well. And then the covers won't go over these at all. So these aren't a win, but they're what go on the end of these cables, right? Yeah, so am I completely screwed? if the balloon goes up suddenly? No. The answer to that is I ordered ends that would, so I don't have to go through an adapter. Now, if the balloon goes up crazily and something like that and I need power right now, well, yeah. These right here, okay, this will take it down to 350 MCM to 4-aught. And then 4-aught, just put an end here. I got the crimps, and this will fit on there just fine, no problem. And it won't really induce a huge amount of loss. Massive short distance, and it's rated for the amperage. No problem on that. Okay, the other thing is, I still have my old wires, all right? And when I talked about you don't destroy what you have to build something new, this other stuff, a lot of it's other wire. The other stuff here for the short leads and all that other stuff, still got. So we got a problem, things like that. Yeah, the batteries aren't gonna end up where I wanted them. The inverters aren't gonna end up where I wanted it. I will just have to put up with where it's at and what I was dealing with before. So that's how it goes. So that's my backup plan. Just go back to the way it was. Nothing really that complicated. Now, the output of these inverters, they'll be coming out of here. There's an input for AC and an output for AC. The input AC is for like hooking up to a generator or the grid to be able to charge batteries. And that's what I do, is grid backup or generator backup sort of plan stuff. The output is going to come to the circuit breaker here. And so these are kind of neat, actually. I get a kick out of these. Bryant, I don't know, they have a real compact thing. I like this for certain things. I usually use Square D's QO panels. I really like them. But for certain cases, another one actually fits really well. But these are, it's got two 200 volt circuits. We can combine up and get the inverters paired together to provide all the output. So that's pretty much what's going on here. Now, there's more. I got to get this put in. Got to get the charge controller put in. Got to get the circuit breakers for the charge controller all mounted up and everything else. And we'll be making videos along the whole way as we wire all this mess back up and you get to see it work. It'd be really neat. But I wanted to show you sort of roughing this out and what I was doing. And yes, I did make a couple oopses. And so like you can see down here, there's a splice joint. That's why I carry a lot of splices in supply and heat shrink to fix those. Because sometimes, for some reason, when it's late at night, you're not thinking, like, oh yeah, this is long enough, snip, snip, nip. Crap. Yeah, I make mistakes. Everyone makes mistakes. The key thing is to be able to recover from mistakes and move on. And that's why I carry a lot of construction supplies, plumbing, all sorts of stuff. Really important. But anyways, this is the rough layout of everything. We will get this painted, and I'll show you where some of this other stuff hooks up to and how it runs and everything else in the next video. In this next part of the series. I do hope you guys are finding this a little educational. Please feel free to ask any questions you want. I'll be happy to answer any questions, explain things, anything you didn't think made much sense or you want something addressed, ask a question. I'll do my best to get you some answers. And I do know this stuff really well, so luckily, good chance I'll actually have an answer for you. Take care, everyone. This is Reed. Out for now.